What is up, YouTube? KM888 here with a deck profile from my Pendulum Magician deck that I've used on the Belgium Nationals this weekend. I went to Belgium Nationals and I actually got into the top 16. Sadly lost my top 16 match, but it was still a lot of fun and I actually loved playing the deck and I learned so much from it. It was awesome. I'm just gonna jump straight into the deck profile. If you guys want a recap, just comment it below. I'll post it in the description, stuff like that. I'll put my my matchups in the description as well, and you can all check it out then. I also have a Facebook page. I'll link it down below. Everything's on there as well, so you can check it out there if you want to. For the deck, 40 cards. Of course, it's actually the best right now. It's stupid. 3 astrograph, cards bunkers, 3 chronograph, don't have to explain these, and the 2 bricks, of course, stargazer, time gazer. I've actually opened these like a lot this weekend. The time gazer actually came into play a couple of times to put it in my scale when I didn't have a monster, which was actually kind of nice. And a stargazer didn't bother me that much because most of the time I drew a lure with it, so I can just send it away. But not having these in the deck is actually kind of sad, but it can work out. So yeah. Triple Master Cerberus. It might brick sometimes because the smaller monsters, if you draw them first and this thing is dead, but the power play of the mythical beast is actually way better than if you don't play them. So yeah. Then we have the Jackal King, which is an also extender. Just summon the Master Cerberus, go from there, which actually won me a lot of games. Like, just summoning the Master Cerberus alone is awesome. And then 1 mythical beast Basilisk. I didn't want to run 2 Jackal King because you're kind of bricking if you open them. But having the Basilisk made sure that I have a second target for my Master Cerberus and that I got another draw off of it. This card also came in handy with another play in my deck, but you'll see that in a couple of secs. So yeah, that's basically it for the extenders. I don't play the Dark Worm Engine, the Supreme Kings. I didn't think they were that good in this build, and I haven't missed them at all, so I was kind of happy with it. For the Magicians, I was actually playing 3 Wisdom, 3 Purple, 3 Black Fang, 3 Harmonizing, and 1 Oath. I don't like Oath that much because, 1, it is in the dark to banish with a lure, and if you open it up, it's actually kind of bad. I found that I want to see this like mid-combo where I do my final Wisdom Eye, I get the Oath Dragon, use this effect, get Harmonizing to my hand, and go from there. But in general, I don't really like the Oath Dragon, but it's needed at once, so I'm running it. So yeah. That's it for the Magicians. I don't play the Janke Magician, the level 7, to make Vortex. But I also didn't miss that either, so yeah. For other monsters, I was playing the 1 Rescue Hamster. Card is Bunkers. First things first, its normal summon effect isn't once per turn. So if you have this and you can make a Nightmare Goblin, you can summon it twice, do the effect twice, which is actually pretty amazing. But you mostly have it in the deck for the scale effect. You just search it off of the Electrobite, put it in your scale, you get it back, and you go from there. Just put it in your scale, get back 2 Astrographs, 2 Wisdoms. I even used it to get back 2 Black Fangs when I was going second, so card is Bunkers. It was so awesome. I might bump this up in the future, maybe to 2, depends on what build I'm going to run then, so yeah. There are a lot of options in Pendulums, but the Rescue Hamster was really nice. The 1 Luster Pendulum, the Draco Slayer, I actually like this. I opened this and Astrograph 2 times. Well, with Duelist Alliance, of course. So I Astrograph with the scale, Luster pop Astro, get Astro, and then you can trigger the Astro to get it on the field. It's actually pretty good, and you get extra plays off of it, so it's actually nice. And then for the biggest surprise of the day, I think, on the entire Belgium Nationals, everyone's playing against me and they saw it, they were like, what? I was actually playing 2 Royal Magical Library. The idea behind this card is when you're going first, you can normal summon it, and all of your pendulums are spells. So if you put them, you pop them for their effects, like with the Master Cerberus, you're just accumulating counters and you draw every time off of it. Now on this Nationals, I've seen the card 3 times in my opening hand when going first. And one time I got ashed, but like the turn after I still got 3 draws of my second library, so it's not that bad. It's actually pretty okay, and if the opponent doesn't have hand traps, you can just go ham and draw your entire deck. So yeah, the card is actually pretty good. It worked out, and I don't think the only time that the card wasn't good is when the opponent had anti-spell. So. That was main decked, so like game 2 and 3 you side them out because you expect the anti-spells, you expect counters, and you want some side deck options. But like game 1, if it's good, so yeah. That's it for the monsters. For the spells, triple Allure of Darkness. In a deck like this, of course, like practically a lot of darks, and it helps with the library. Then for other draw power, the one Upstart Goblin, same thing, I'm playing 40, so with this I'm actually playing 39, and thanks to the library I can just keep accumulating counters, which is actually really good. It also helps, like, if you have the Master Cerberus or the Jackal King on board, just get some more counters and go from there. The one Pot of Desires, it was the 40th card. I could have gone like with 2 Pot of Desires, but I decided the Upstart to be better. And I don't like banishing my cards that much because I have a lot of combos in the deck. A lot of Garnets with the Stargazer, Time Gazer, the Jackal Kings, you just name it. And you really don't want to banish a lot of those. So I decided to go with 1 Pot of Desires. It was good every time. Every time I saw it, it was awesome. I've never actually activated it and drawn into something useless. So yeah, the Pot of Desires is really good. Next up, Monster Reborn and Soul Charge. The cards are in here for 2 reasons. First of all, if you draw them in your opening hand, one of them hopefully, not both, and you make Electromite, you are safe for Ghost Ogre. You can just use the effect without fear, because if they Ghost Ogre you on the effect, you'll just Reborn or Soul Charge, get back the Electromite, and you're ready to do the second effect. And then most of the time you're going to make a second Electromite, so you still have your zones ready to Pendulum Summon. That's the first reason behind these 2. The second one, if they don't stop you, if they don't have hand traps, which actually happens against things like True Draco often, but also against other things sometimes, you never know, then this card is such a big extender. At the end of your combo, when you're having everything, you can just start linking away and just revive everything that you need with the Soul Charge. The card is bonkers. I've had 2 or 3 games where I drew this card in my opening hand. I was actually kind of sad because I bricked because of it, because of the Soul Charge. But in general, bricking, I didn't brick that much. I bricked 2 games against the Burning Abyss player, which I lost against because of that. And it was because I had Reborn and Soul Charge in my opening hand, like both. And I couldn't do anything because of that. So like 2 Reborn cards is actually really good. Playing it third might be too much. So like the World Legacy Inheritance, I think. I don't know what it's called. It might be too much, but 2 Reborn cards is actually pretty good. I've only bricked like those 2 games with it and nothing else, so yeah. And then to round up the spells, the one Duelist Alliance searches out the Luster Pendulum from the deck, so a potential monster. But it also searches out Pendulum Paradox, which is an amazing card, by the way. I've never seen this card and not being able to play it. I always saw it at a convenient time. It's even awesome in the opening hand if you have some combo pieces, because you can just get back any 2 with the same scale. Card is amazing. Nothing else to say about it. Just 1 is enough, though. You really don't have to go for a second. It would be redundant to go for that. And then the final card, the one Time Pendulum Graph, searchable card for the Duelist Alliance. The card is actually still really good. I wouldn't want to miss it. I've seen it a couple of times, always helped me out. You don't want to see it in your opening hand though, so you might want to draw it off of the library game 1. But in general, when you see it, it's actually it's really a good card, so yeah. I didn't play the other Pendulum card that you have to discard to search 2 magicians, but it's only because I didn't run the Supreme Kings, because if you just have to discard a magician, sure you can use Black Fang and go from there, but it doesn't really add up. So I really wasn't ready for those plays. I wanted this to happen, especially because of True Draco. If you go against True Draco and you open the library, they can't stop you, they don't have hand traps. So you just go ham, and you almost draw your entire deck. So you're basically guaranteed to get to your Time Pendulum Graph, and this is your counter against the Amano Iwado, which is actually problematic sometimes. Like, if you can make the biggest board you ever want, 4 or 5 negates, even 6 in monster form, like everything you want. You just summon the Amano Iwado, Raigeki, you're done. So yeah, if you don't have an out like this, you don't need to play them. It's redundant then, so yeah. Anyways, that's it for the main deck, 40 cards. For the main deck, actually changing stuff. Maybe now that the surprise is gone of the libraries, I might change those up with the cards that I have to support them. But for everything else, I think the main deck was actually really good, so I don't really want to change that. Extra deck now. I was playing triple Electromite. I really needed 3. There were games that going first, I only played 2 because like the first one got ogred, and the second one I summoned it. I Pendulum summon. I don't go into the third one because I didn't have enough resources. But then the turn after, you're actually really happy to have the third one in your extra deck. So grinding is everything on tournament scale if you're playing Pendulum, so the third Electrobite is really convenient. Firewall Dragon for the combo. If you don't get stopped, the Firewall Dragon actually makes sure you can still get some negates on board, and most of the time you'll win because of that, so yeah. Next up I was playing some Nightmares, so the Goblin, the Phoenix, the Cerberus, and the Griffin. The general idea is that I want to include all the Nightmares, so also the Unicorn and the Mermaid, but before the tournament starts, I didn't have a Unicorn and I didn't have a Nightmare Ibli, the Corruptor Ibli. So I didn't want to play the Mermaid because I didn't have the Ibli, and I didn't have a Unicorn, so I just couldn't. So I had to make some changes like a couple of days ago to make sure I can play without them. But I had these, and they were actually pretty fine. The Goblin, make sure you get an extra normal summon, which could be important because I play the Royal Magical Libraries. So playing the Rescue Hamster as a second normal summon is really amazing. It also extended some play, so it's really good. The Phoenix is actually an amazing out for anti-spell, which is great because I've used it once to get rid of an unending nightmare, so it's really good. Then we have the Cerberus, which can come in handy at some boss monsters that you want to get rid of, that use their effects, like a Vortex or a Mechaba, stuff like that. You can also lure them out with it, which is actually pretty good. And then the Griffin, it's just an amazing card. If you have it on the field and it doesn't link to your opponent, they'll have trouble getting over the card. It's really amazing card. Next up, I'm also playing the Topologic Trisbane. This card is bonkers. I'm gonna show you guys a field in a couple of secs in where I summon this in a certain particular way, and then the card is overly powerful. It's amazing. And then the final card is Ryuja Skuldred. The idea with the Royal Magical Library is actually that if you draw like nearly half your deck, you can just go to Skuldred, draw the final pieces, and make sure you get to Soul Charge, you get to the Time Pendulum Graph. It also fixes like bad hands if you need to, but that's all nice in theory, but when I got into the tournament, I've never played the Skuldred. Like, it has stayed in my extra deck the entire tournament. It was the only card. I've played everything else. So I'm probably gonna take this one out for the unicorn, and then I just have to find one more spot for the mermaid, so it's actually pretty nice. But I'm probably gonna look into that later. But yeah, the Skull Dread, amazing. Amazing card, I've used it so many times. No. But yeah. Further on, 2 Supreme King Dragon Starving Venoms. I might cut one of these, because I find myself making the Hope Harbinger more often with 1 Supreme King and the Master Cerberus, because you'll... there are a lot of chances where you go with Firewall, you get back the Cerberus, special summon it, and stuff like that. Like with the Chronograph, you also get it on board a lot, so I might cut the second Supreme King. Wasn't that needed to make Hope Harbinger. If you have the resources to go into triple Electromite and 2 Supreme King Starving Venoms, you're most likely going to win anyway. Like, Pendulum is one of the most powerful decks there is, if you can open up right and they don't stop you. And there's a trigger if they don't stop you. Like, Infinite Permanence is a card right now. You have the Hand Traps. There's a lot of cards that can stop you, and you really... Like, if you can't stop those cards, which most of the time you can't, you're not gonna make a huge board, and you have to try something else. So yeah, that's why I was starting to think with the Nightmares, so yeah. But in general, the Supreme Kings were kinda good. I've never made the Hope Harbinger with 2 Supreme Kings. I only made it with 1 Supreme King and a Master Cerberus, but I have had duels where I summoned both. Although it wasn't that necessary, so yeah, I'm probably going to take out 1 Supreme King, but yeah. And then we have the Odd-Eyes Absolute and the Vortex, which is funny because I've only made Vortex twice this entire tournament. What I found is that people are actually waiting for this card to come out to then start negating stuff. Yeah, just summon a bunch of monsters like 2 Astrographs, a Cerberus, a Chronograph, and attack for game. That actually happened a lot more for me than making this. I've had a couple of games where the opponents, they just kept their Ghost Ogres in hand for the Electromites. They kept their Ghost Ogres in hand for... Like really for the Exceeds, for the Links, for everything that I wanted to make. The Ash Blossoms, they stayed in hand. They kept everything, and just not going into your extra deck is actually pretty funny because, yeah, I won because of that a couple of times. Just don't overextend. You can have game, just go for game. So yeah. So that's it for the extra deck. The little fields that I wanted to show you guys is actually in the combo. Like, it's a small combo and easy to pull off. But you're going to make a Griffin right here. You're going to get your Vortex here, a Firewall on this side, and then you have your Topologic Trisbane. The funny thing about it, yeah, this can also be like the Goblin. It doesn't really matter as long as it's linked across the board. The Topologic Trisbane, right being here, is actually funny because if they want to use their extra zone, oh, you can't see it. I'm going to put the camera a little bit closer. There we go. If you have the Trisbane right here, if they want to summon in their extra monster zone, it just gets banished with every spell and trap on the field. So whatever they do, they can't go into their extra monster zone. And because of this field, the Trisbane actually got infinite impermanence a couple of times, which is actually funny. It was such an easy way to lure that out on this card, and it helped me a lot in this tournament. So yeah. Now I'm gonna go into the side deck. So let me grab it. First things first, side deck. Triple Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Talking about the cards, I wasn't particularly fond of it in the Pendulum deck. I might run it at 2, so I'm probably gonna cut one in the side deck. Because drawing this too much also doesn't help. You really want your hand ready for with combos and stuff like that. And I've noticed that if you're playing Pendulum, it's max 6 or 7 cards that you can side out. If you side out more than 6, you're more than likely going to brick. So if you're going if you have a certain matchup that you really need Ash Blossom against, or you know that at locals or regionals you're going to have a deck against you that really Ash Blossom wins against, then go for 3. But like in this format, 2 was actually better. If you're playing against True Draco, you're going second. You don't have to run these because they're going to Amana Iwato you, and you can't even use these. Sure, they're good in your turn against the Majesty Maiden and the Ignis, but like with the Ignis, they can just still set a card. So I believe, or is it to the hand? I'm not really sure. I think they can still set it, but like this against the Majesty Maiden is like the only way why the Ash Blossom could be good. And against True Draco, you have a lot of other options, and those are actually better. Like, don't run the Ash Blossom against True Draco or any hand trap for that matter. But in general, I'd cut this down to 2 if I had to do it again. So yeah. Then we have the triple Ghost Ogre. This card was phenomenal whole weekend. Every time I sided them in, I saw one. I thrown it on a couple of Electromites. It's really good. So I've thrown it on one Blue Sky, the Mekk-Knight, and because of that, it was in the grave, so it can't point into a column anymore, and he couldn't search. So yeah, the Ghost Ogre is actually pretty nice. We got triple Zafion. Zafion is in here for the True Draco matchup and for Altergeist and Paleo or Chainburn if you do cross it. And the card has actually won me my game against True Draco. He had a full board and I summoned Zafion, I attacked into nothing, but he had Skill Drain. And then the turn after, when he destroyed this, it went to the grave, I got a draw. And I actually drew into evenly matched because of that, and I won my game. It was ugly and nice at the same time. And every time I saw the Zafion in any matchup that I had, like against Altergeist, it was really awesome. It was really good, solid card. You can just link away with this after you Pendulum summon, and you still get a draw off of it. So it's pretty good in this deck. You certainly have to think, if you're playing Pendulum, to try out this card. Next up, Red Reboot, card of the weekend in my opinion. Every matchup against Altergeist, which I've had 3 of, I've won, partially because of Red Reboot. The OTK potential in Pendulum is really amazing. If you're going up against anything with traps, Red Reboot is solid. Also, if you're going first and you expect the evenly matched, Red Reboot can be sided in, just set it and the evenly matched gets negated. If you're afraid that they pop it, you can just keep it in hand and the evenly matched can still be negated. Dimensional Barrier, this card subs it as well. Just side it in if you're going second, it'll always be fine. Playing 2 evenly matched, I never wish I had a third. I was always okay with having 2. Every matchup that I sided it in, either I didn't need it to win, or I saw it and I won. So yeah, 2 evenly matched was enough. It was awesome. And then I was also playing the 1 Solemn Judgment. I've seen the card twice, but I don't think it's necessary in here. Probably going to change this one up as well with the second Ash Blossom, put 2 other cards in. I don't know yet which ones, but I'm going to change up those 2 for 2 other cards, and I still have to think about that. But I had to pay 4,000 life points to negate a card in my top 16, and afterwards he mind controlled my Trisbane, and I was so sad. And he made he linked with it and then made a Mekaba and pumped it up with the Alistar for game, which was kind of sad. So basically I lost there in top 16 because of the Solemn Judgment. If I hadn't used it, I had more than enough life points to actually win in time. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm not gonna play this card again. This and the third Ash are gonna come out, but I don't know which cards I'm gonna replace them with yet. Maybe something against Invoked Mekk-Knight, because it seems that was a harder matchup. I couldn't really go first without fear of hand traps, and going second is pretty hard if they open the Mekaba and stuff, because if they negate the right card, you're still in trouble. They also expect themselves to go first, so they side in dimensional barriers and stuff, so it's additionally hard. But yeah, that was the deck profile. I hope you guys liked it. At least I did. It was awesome to play Belgium Nationals, getting the top 16. And congrats to our Belgian national champion, Max van Nijverszeel. Back-to-back champions, because last year was Dutch champion, now he's Belgium champion. So yeah, just a guy who deserves it, I guess. Plays well, and yeah. That's it for the deck profile. If you guys liked it, put a comment down below if you want to know anything, and that's about it, I guess. Ciao!